this campaign that is yet to be... I guess it has gotten a name by Jonas. Yes. I believe you called it whatever. Doesn't really matter.
The Lost World is what I call it, because you always refuse to give names to your campaign, so I have to come up with stuff.
Because I don't want to put thoughts into your head. I want to have the exact opposite happen. But regardless, let's get started with this. I believe you're all connected, although that's not really required for this. We initially began with your party, as it were. Some of you knew each other already. One of you just kind of got roped into this whole thing, being approached by a bunch of potential job offers, really. 3 of them, in fact. 2 of which you didn't really take, since you could only take 1. 1, however, you did take, and that was a job offer by a Tenenin called Jax Blacktail, who, a rather straightforward, although ominous, I believe some of you called it, job. He wants some protection because he wants to go to Minett. He has even said that he'll pay you pretty much double as much as the others would, because he knows it's dangerous, but he really has to get there. Why? He hasn't really said, but, you know, money speaks. And so, after accepting that job, pretty much the next day after you getting your stuff and such, Jax would have essentially woken you up and said that he wants to go. Early dawn. It's a cloudy day. Not too cold, but there are definitely rather big clouds in the sky, and rain is pretty much going to come eventually. The inn hasn't been too crowded, and really neither is the road outside. There are a couple of people still coming into the inn, even at this early dawn, having traveled through the night. But most of the actual big caravans only come during the less stormy and rainy seasons. Merchants are allergic to unnecessary risks and such, and there isn't really any reason to travel if you don't have to, so they don't. Jax is definitely eager to travel. He has told you that the plan is to avoid Freedom's Hold completely, but he does promise a stop at every other tavern on the way to Lonebridge, where he will buy you a meal and a round of drinks. Something that won't be quite as possible on the road from Lonebridge to Minett, because while there are a few villages, you really don't want to go to those unless you have a very good reason. On the other hand, that same principle applies to Minett really as well. Minett can make you rich, but chances are it'll make you dead instead. At least that's what Jax says constantly, pretty much, if asked about the topic. And so you very quickly find yourself on the road.
Why did he want to avoid Freedom's Hold?
Mostly because there's no reason to stop there. There's plenty of cheaper taverns on the way, and unless you insist on going there, he'd just pass by that town completely.
Okay, well, if it's just if it's a faster route, then sure. It's just, if he had some special reason, it might be good to know it.
I'm wanted, dead or alive there.
They're all going to kill me. That's why I want to go to Minett so bad, because I'm hunted.
Since the biological warfare I did, it's been a bit of a mess. Look at that rogue.
Unload the last one. Come on.
Look at that rogue.
Fucking excuse me?
Look at that face. That is the face of sales right there. Look at that guy.
Yeah.
Sales?
Yeah, he'll sell you like this horse. It's not dead at all. It's just resting.
Damn it, where did he go?
Oh, he's gone now.
I don't see anyone.
He's back.
Yeah, perhaps at this point a sort of metagame interruption, since we kind of introduced the characters to each other in our session 0, where Jake wasn't present. Perhaps you should talk a bit about your character, just to tell the others what they would know.
Basically, he would introduce himself as Dimezz Tristram. I would do a voice, but my mouth hurts, so. He doesn't really talk a lot about what he does, but he does say that he's very sneaky if that's needed, and he likes to. He does actually kind of say with pride that he likes to break into places without taking anything, just to show that he can.
Sounds very true.
Anrakyn will nod in affirmation about this.
Yes,
the
yes,
guy.
very believable. You always hear about the people who go into places and not steal anything. Sorry, continue.
Well, I don't actually take. He says he doesn't take anything out. He just remembers things that he reads in there and takes those memories out. So it's not really stealing.
Okay.
He's kind of like a spy or like for hire.
It's not stealing, really.
Private investigator, I think is what they call those.
Of sorts, yes. And yeah, he sought out Anrakyn for some help on a sensitive topic, and is kind of tagging along. I guess he needs some money.
All right, sure.
Yeah.
Money.
Money makes
That's
the
why
world
we
go
work,
round.
after all.
Well, the first couple hours of your trip here, unless you still want to talk about something, I don't want to interrupt.
Is Jax as wobbly on the road as he was in the tavern?
Pretty much, yes. It does seem like he really wants to rather walk on all fours most of the time, but he actively resists doing it, and it looks somewhat awkward that how he's walking, but he is walking with a lot of determination, at least.
He's also pretty big, then. Yeah.
He is over 2 meters. He is basically a Alaric size.
All right. Well, in this world, that says quite a lot about him.
It does hint that he has seen a reasonably fair share of confrontation in his past.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
How is he
sure.
armed?
Graham.
He does carry a small short sword in a sheath next to his leather coat, essentially, that he's wearing. A small backpack with supplies. Well, a small, in comparison to him, backpack, which is a rather large backpack, really, with miscellaneous supplies, but he doesn't seem to be armed to the teeth, apart from the teeth and claws he has.
Well,
He's not armed to the teeth. He's armed with the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, yeah.
okay, well, we're hired to protect this guy, so
So let's
there must be
protect the guy.
something out here that that he's afraid of.
Your first couple hours of traveling really go without issue. The price point inn quickly disappearing from sight. The sky getting more and more covered with a thin layer of rather dark grey clouds. Not a great sign, but weather is weather. And after a couple hours, probably shortly after noon, the sound of trotting horses reaches you, coming from somewhere behind you. Their hoofs making that distinct sound on a, well, not here depicted cobblestone road. Even from this distance, you can make out that they are riding in 2 rather orderly columns, led by, well, a figure, a woman most likely, in thick chainmail, the large sword even visible at this distance. And the people behind her seem to be somewhat armed as well, at least in light leather armor, bows.
Well, time to clear the road, as all of the player characters, except for one, have been astute in realizing. Gotta let the traffic
I want
through.
to get run over, man.
Begin battle!
Yeah, they slowly
Let's
compress
boost
their
that.
columns in a way that suggests that they simply want to pass you, paying very little attention to you. Jax, however, looks rather worried, fidgeting around as he walks, occasionally finally dropping down to walk on all fours, but then sighs and then goes back to bipedal transportation. So he looks around at the figures slowly approaching. And eventually the riders do essentially meet your group, ignoring you completely, slowly passing through the space you've made available. Except that as half of the column is essentially ahead of you and the other half just behind you, The woman in front lets out a sharp whistle. The riders quickly fanning out. The riders dropping from their horses, slowly pulling weapons. The woman, however, while she does also dismount her horse, does not pull her great sword, but rather makes a sort of slow down gesture to everyone. Let me put up their tokens on the map here, because visualization and such.
Happens, the Edelling will go closer to Anrakyn. Usually when they fight, he is sort of ordered to protect Anrakyn, as he's quite a lot weaker than Graham.
Seems like a pretty compelling reason to just ditch Jax and just walk back to the price point inn and ask the dwarf whether he's got his job open still.
I suppose, but I don't know what these people are. They will hopefully present themselves.
Actually, do these people wear something that could, give out like any information about who they are?
They don't seem to be wearing any insignias or emblems or symbols in any way, shape, or form, really. Their equipment does seem rather professional in a sense. Almost like uniforms, but there's nothing that really identifies them in a way. The only person in this group really looking different from each other are some person with slightly lighter armor and bows, and the rather distinct leader figure of a woman in heavy chainmail. She is not wearing a short sword like the others are, but rather a rather large greatsword. As she gestures hands out in a sort of slow down, I just want to talk gesture, and says, basically ignoring Jax completely, "Say, hired help, aren't you? Can't imagine that someone like Jax over there has many friends. Should have stayed in the forest, if you ask me. How much is he paying you? More importantly, how much do you want to conveniently forget that you've ever been hired? He's got something that I want, and I'd imagine you don't want any trouble. And tell you what, you can have her share as well if you forget her as well," as she points at Fancy.
Anrakyn blinks, looks over to Jax, looks over to Fancy.
Fancy scratches her head in confused, like... She's doing the same thing that she did with Anrakyn, like in the tavern, like she's looking at the woman, like, do I know her? Am I married? Has it gone
Gil's
on?
gonna look at Fancy. Have you met this woman?
Fancy's face spells all of the confusion as she is attempting to remember. I'm like, did I marry her? Is she like the daughter or something?
Is she my daughter?
Anrakyn frowns, looks at the woman and says, "It is usually polite to at least present yourself before you try to wrangle people on the road, Lady Knight," as he coughs.
Indeed. I would ask, what is going on here? Who are these people to you, and who are you to them?
Well, introducing myself would make this whole conveniently forgetting about everything rather more difficult for you, wouldn't it?
No.
I am not...
Not really.
I'm not wont to throw people that I have been hired to protect into unknown brigands on the road. Makes for a poor reputation, you see.
Meanwhile, Jax is slowly shuffling, tiptoeing his way over to Gil-Galad, not taking his eyes off the woman, and basically in a whisper, the message of the whisper is essentially also visible in his entire gestures at the moment. Basically just says to him, "Help me out here and I'll explain everything. Just, these people are not nice people."
Does he look afraid or maybe guilty?
He would look genuinely worried, at least. Afraid, perhaps. Although, perhaps a smidgen of determination in that fear as well. Guilty, not so much.
Oh, I know who you are. I married your sister in Freedom's Hold. How is she doing?
The one who blinks, frowns.
Oh,
That might be true, but that is not why I would like you to disappear. You see, your type is all the same, and this world has far too many of you.
My type.
One less?
Is it the eyes? It's the eyes, isn't it?
She frowns. Yes, let's go with that.
I was going to assume you meant women, but you're one yourself, and I don't think you want to get rid of yourself, so...
And most people have eyes.
It's true, I've got them.
She does seem to have a fairly big portion of self-loathing, though.
Gil-Galad will raise his voice a little bit.
Which one of them?
I mean, that haircut, look at it.
My name is Gil-Galad. I'm a cleric of Aduial, and my job is to protect this person. You don't strike me as a common bandit. Certainly not, especially with this, well, companionship of yours. So I don't imagine that he can be really worth your time. He doesn't really strike me of anyone with real importance either.
A follower of Aduial, you say, a priest or cleric of some sort, you are then. Well, she turns to look towards mostly Graham and Anrakyn over to that side. How about you have his share as well, and I'll take the 3 of them. Lots of money in there for you, I think.
Perhaps.
How much money do you have with you? This sounds like pretty grand promises.
Yep.
I have enough payment to pay an entire company, and I only have half of one with me. Trust me that...
You don't
Trust
say.
me when I say I can follow up on my promises. Now make your decision. I don't have all day.
Dimezz says to the rest of the company here, hey boys, I mean, it does look like she's stiffing you then. She says she's got double what she's paying you. Maybe you guys deserve a little compensation for having to come all the way out here.
Why don't you roll me a convince the mercenaries of underpayment skill check?
Finding them dead is not something they're paid enough to be doing.
Identify with their plight skills. Appeal to their baser instincts.
It would be a d20 plus an appropriate background, plus your charisma modifier, definitely, plus your level.
Hang on.
But the background, you would essentially have to convince
Yeah.
me that the background works.
Yeah, I don't know if any of my backgrounds are necessarily good, unless you would consider spy for hire making me like particularly convincing, kind of convincing people to tell me things they shouldn't.
Well, explain to me why it would work in this situation.
Well, I've got a long
Make something
background
up.
in making people do what I want. But I'm.
Maybe you could argue that being a spy for hire, your job occasionally includes convincing other people to focus their attention on something else in order for them to let you pass or something. I think that would work. Sure.
Okay, so it was, you said charisma plus background and a d20, or was there something else?
And level.
And level. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That's my charisma plus 3.
That passes a ridiculously hard skill check in an adventure tier environment.
Oh. Well, most of the mercenaries do try to keep up their professional demeanor, but you do hear at least some grumbles of, we have been doing a lot of walking recently, and maybe we should get a raise. We are doing pretty dangerous work. The grumbles slowly move to the group.
Anrakyn coughs again and says, dangerous indeed, because you stand before a group that is not your ordinary group of travelers, I should think. At this point, he will use prestidigitation to create sort of a faint howling coming from around. He wants like a howling, spooky sound, and it's sort of approaching almost. Maybe even create some weird flickering lights out in the forest. It's like approaching, trying to basically frighten them. Or make it spooky.
All right. That would be a frighten the mercenaries with magic skill check.
Well,
Obviously.
I am a master of the mystic arts. So using my magic in such a fashion might be possible for me with that. Maybe.
I think a
Yes,
magical background would be appropriate, yeah.
Okay.
Perhaps with your intelligence modifier to empower the spell.
I would maybe say that charisma is more fitting because you are trying to essentially put on a show.
Mm-hmm. So a d20 plus my charisma modifier plus my background plus my level.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
that skill roll.
the woman, the leader of these people, stabs her greatsword into the cracks between the cobblestones of the road, kind of in an impatient gesture. Then lifts it up to her shoulder and starts approaching Anrakyn as she says, "They have a mage. They have clearly hostile intention. I hereby allow combat to start." She doesn't say that, I say that. She says something more along the lines of, "All right, we've wasted enough time here. Let's make them disappear, shall we?"
It'd be pretty funny if she...
Yeah,
Roll initiative, bad guys. For I have done so.
And you are in a world of
All
hurt.
right, let's
I might
kill
tell you.
these people.
I permit combat to begin. Like, oh, that's good. I'm glad I have your
That's
permission.
very gracious
Thanks
of
for
you.
telling
thank
me,
you.
honestly. Alright, well, let's kill them all.
Yeah, her people here, however, are somewhat hesitating still. Still discussing wages. They will not act in the first round.
Okay, that's cool.
Let's see.
Time to kill them all.
Get 'em, boys.
Well, if she dies, then no one
Killing the leader
If
is
I had
Would you add me to initiative?
If I had
I
circle
have
of
changed
death,
your macro that you should just click it and it's done.
Oh,
Yes.
you changed my macro, did you? All right.
I
can't say
did.
I can't edit it anymore. Well, okay. Sure.
Actually, Jax will as well because also. Let's see. These two are still discussing wages and hazardous pay. Anrakyn, you see clearly hostile intent in at least the leader, and the soldiers or her people at least seem to slowly be collecting themselves as well to follow the orders.
Well,
In that case-
in that case, he will, he will raise up his walking stick, his bone white walking stick, and snort and says, "A mage, pah! You stand before a necromancer!" And then he will slam down the wand down on the ground and summon undead.
All right.
4 undead summoned. Which I'll get from my. I don't suppose you have my my skeleton
Yeah.
still on the map somewhere. Sure.
I do have them, not on this map. Let me get them.
That's what's happening, Talsiber. Like, he's like, "What's wrong with me?"
I don't know. Perhaps hair, maybe? I don't know.
Well, we also
It's
can't
simple.
see her on the map, on the initiative tracker sheep.
There you go.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Man, damn! Look at those things.
Spookfest 2016.
As they crawl out, like they manifest the swirling spirits, maybe in the edge of the forest, rush out and into the ground, and out from the ground, skeletal hands and horrible creatures drag themselves from the dirt, ready to do business. As the howling intensifies, kill you all. All right, that's a standard action. I do believe my skeletons can actually attack when they arrive.
Yes, they can move and attack right now.
Okie doke. Acting on my initiative, basically. So let's have like this. Skeleton number 1 will attack Mercenary Fighter 2.
All right. Mercenary fighter. Well, they are a mob of mooks, so it's not too important. But that's definitely a hit for 3 points of damage.
Okay. Oops. Then Crumbling Skeleton 2 will go for the archer and swing. And 4 will go for the archer. And 3 will go for the archer.
Right. The first one is a miss. The 25, however, hits. And the 7 just whiffs completely. Also something I forgot, because this map needs lines.
Lines!
Alright, anything else?
He takes like a half step back.
So do those lines kind of indicate nearby and such, or?
Yes, yes.
As his evil minions do their dark deeds in front of him. And that's that.
Yeah, Jax looks as taken aback as all the people that did not know Anrakyn before, to the point where he'll actually hesitate a bit. Graham.
Not one, but 2 masters of death.
Yes!
Call out, and I will use an
The-
unholy blast at this lady.
The Dark Brotherhood strikes!
Actually, let me use it on the mercenary fighters instead.
The Brothers of Destruction.
I am terrible at hitting with it, but when he does this, basically, it's more like he doesn't really know what he's doing. He just sort of draws in the powers of this necromantic energy and just lunges out with it, and it's sort of as it gets stuck in his armor and just whirls everywhere. But maybe no, I don't think that hits.
How do you roll
Hey,
0?
0 versus PD doesn't
I have a
matter.
-3.
Oh gosh.
So, so that would be half damage on a miss, and I will roll a second attack with it.
Okay, she will take 7.
Who will you be attacking with this
No,
second
mercenary
attack?
fighter was the target.
Well, another mercenary fighter, I
Oh.
suppose.
Yep, so
Okay.
7 on one of the mercenary fighters, and
Like this guy.
Okay, that guy falls over out of fright, probably.
Right. Then this guy will get the other time.
nope.
It's a 2.
But that's another 7 at least.
So that's half damage again.
Okay.
That's the same damage, 7 damage. And that guy.
Turns out that the randomly lashing out of necromantic energies is enough to also down him.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
That was the hope. And then Graham will move over and engage this lady. The Etterling,
She will let
I guess, will go and fight this guy, so that everyone's engaged with someone.
Yep.
And he can attack too. So he'll do that.
That does not hit.
Okay. Well,
The thin but sturdy chainmail blocking most of that. Fancy.
Fancy uses her quick action to look over at Anrakyn, and she finally remembers. Her eyes light up. But she doesn't have time to think about it too much. She'll think about it later. As her move action, since everyone seems busy talking about wages and necromantic explosions and fear, what have you, she is going to have herself some words with. Oh, excuse me, pardon me. Oh, didn't mean that. Oh, sorry. With Linnell Howards. Fancy thinks to herself that she wants answers from this person and also wants to know how well her sister is doing. And so,
In that order, yeah.
yes, answers including that. So Fancy is going to attempt to smite her into unconsciousness so that she can make her a nice soup and ask questions later. And so that is what Fancy will attempt to do.
Okay, that's a hit.
it's a very nice hit.
Why can't you hit like that, Manaki?
Smite evil
I
in
know.
this sense is Fancy, just taking the proper opportunity to aim where her attack is going to be, so that again she will be able to enjoy a nice soup tonight.
Yeah. The woman certainly didn't expect this sudden onslaught. Jake. Dimezz.
So I have a question. Is it just the square that I'm in that's nearby, or all the ones around it as well?
All adjacent squares are nearby, and the one you're in, of course. Anything that is
Okay.
adjacent to a nearby square is far away.
Far away. Okay, makes sense. I will then shadow walk. Dimezz kind of seems like well, you look over, and he's not really where he was anymore. You see him kind of slinking around, just like here, there, everywhere. Oh, wow, that's awful. So maybe you don't. Maybe he just seems to be looking around for cover and can't find any.
It doesn't find any.
And doesn't find any.
But since you have your adventure feat, you can
least,
still still do everything.
He will then.
There's no cover in this forest.
Over here. Get away from the throng. He doesn't want to kind of get himself all caught up in all the big fighters.
Okay. Any standard action?
I could throw an axe at this archer here.
A what?
Sure.
An axe? He's throwing axes.
Okay.
Little hatchets.
Oh yeah, sure.
That is a crit.
That's a 20. All right.
Fuck you everything.
All right. Describe how with your axe you kill 4 of the archers.
Oh gosh.
Fucking poor Jake
God.
with his goddamn halfling would roll a 20.
Hang on.
All the archers.
Okay. He looks around for cover, can't find any, decides, oof, all these people are all around me, I don't want to be near them. He runs away a bit and kind of, decides the archers are going to be a little bit of a threat since, the melee fighters can't get him, but the archers can still shoot him, and that's terrifying. He's not much for getting skewered, so he takes careful aim and throws an axe, hits one archer in the head, falls over backwards and knocks another archer down where he cracks his head open on a rock, also dies. That second archer had an arrow knocked, which flies free, hits a third one. And then the fourth one dies of fright.
All right.
Halflings.
Brilliant, Professor!
And that is the amazingness of a mob of mooks right there, where you can have amazing stories told.
It's also the amazingness of Jake's halfling characters. That are just such a strong showing in the first sessions.
There's going to be a fucking helm and.
Yeah, Jax's expression currently is very clearly, "Who the hell did I hire?"
And why did they accept such a low price?
Yes.
What's wrong with them?
All right. Things are not going in this woman's favor, the word. But she will fight. If not a heavy blows, but a so-called cleave attack. This attack will go against Fancy. The next one will go against no one.
Well, that was the call ending. Let's see here. I guess I can host. I'm only. Oh wait, someone is. All right, hello.
Well, how about that?
Hello again. Okay, that happened.
Looks like
It was
Manaki
such a hit that it knocked us off the internet.
Yeah, such a miss with her heavy blows attack that it could not be fathomed.
Jake, please control yourself. So, yeah.
She misses. She will try to disengage. -1 and fails. All right. She stays determined. Gil-Galad.
So, Gil, okay, so what's the deal here? Was maybe present in the wedding or something? Probably not. So the first thing he's gonna do is look at Jax. He seems, kinda protected there, maybe with Dimezz. And then look at the unknown figure of the woman. And basically inform probably Fancy and the rest of them that she seems to be targeting those following some other gods, probably different from her own, for whatever reason. Although he doesn't really believe Jax is a strong follower of anything. And then he's going to focus for now. That will be all.
Okay. The archers are dead. The
How
fighters,
about
however.
How about that escalation die? Shoot.
That's a good point. I don't have a nice token image, so we'll just use this archer.
Also, it does look like Manaki is still gone from the call.
Yep. He'll come back eventually, I'm sure. I forgot about the escalation die. Escalation archer goes to 1.
I have a die. Some die images.
Let's see. These two are basically engaged to these two skeletons, so they will take their respective attacks. Mercenary Fighter 6 against Crumbling Skeleton 3. 17. This guy against number 4. 21. Number 2 will attack Crumbling Skeleton 1. That's a good point. Both of those would do half damage. So a total of 4 damage against the against the mob so far. That's number 2's attack here.
Oh, but that does do 4 damage.
So a total of 8.
Yeah.
And this fighter over here is engaged to the Aderling, so he will attack the Aderling. And
We'll miss
miss.
the Otherling. That is an even miss, so it will deal a single point of damage. I can do that.
Let's get rid of the archers here, just for...
Escalation
For
archer.
I'm escalation archer.
Anrakyn.
Anything death nullable?
No.
Okay.
You can
Then-
only death knell them if there's only a single dude left, and that's not true yet. And Lanel is quite healthy yet.
Okay.
Not staggered yet.
Then he will hiss at whatever mercenary that is closest. Fools! You should not have attacked this group. Feel the cold of the grave. He will try to freeze him. And he'll go for mercenary fighter 4. Why not? Let's see here. Frost.
Alright, that hits most definitely for 15.
Would I drop all of them? Actually, that is a question I had. Is that something I should know before I make my interruption or after? Is that an information I should have before I make the interruption?
If your spell only works against, for example, a certain amount of hit points and such, then I am basically, then I have to tell you.
It doesn't have any
Otherwise-
limitations like that.
Otherwise, I can give you a vague thing of maybe or maybe not. I can tell you that this kills 2 of the fighters.
Okay then, let's try to amplify that, reaching into their minds maybe a little bit. I believe
20
that does
versus-
reach, right?
Yes.
Probably.
That
So,
kills another one.
Jower.
Is the last one death nullable then?
Yes.
All right. At that point, I imagine the cold attack shoots out, probably in the look of like a cold mist or something, just enveloping these people. Something happens in the mist, and like they just start falling, screaming. One of them like blood running out of his ears and nose. The 2 others like frozen solid. Last guy looks around, probably frightened. Anrakyn looks at him, slams his staff down, and says, "Enough!" And he falls dead.
So they do.
Anyone hurt yet? No? Okay.
The Ederling is missing
Oh, yeah.
a single hit point.
The life force of the last guy will be transferred to the Ederling.
These fools.
I don't think your crumbling skeletons have acted yet either, Jonas.
They have
Yes,
not.
they haven't.
True.
Now, a question to the group. How do you feel about captives?
The dead
That
have no
hits.
need for
Good points.
captives.
And she is staggered.
Well, I mean, I'm taking her alive, and if no one else does it, I'm going back to the inn.
I mean, you can have her alive.
Oh,
really don't-
Jack's quite happy just watching here. Graham.
He did pay us.
Like, I would love to connect to the server, but this Java version is complaining that I don't have enough space to run it. Which is... So, I don't know what's going on right now. You can probably delay me for now.
Okay. Fancy.
Well, this will work. But Fancy says, you should throw down your weapons. I do not want to have to hurt you more.
She answers with a teeth-gritting frown.
Before she does, my condition for delaying is I will smite evil her with my her battle smite evil if she doesn't.
Alright, then you would get that that delay action
Right,
right
I
now.
should have a macro that does it. My base bonus is 4 plus escalation die. It will prompt you.
Smite evil. 5.
Create new threat. What does that even mean?
That hits her for half damage.
Alright.
Fancy frowns at the woman and she will use one of her daily usages of Smite Evil. Looks like that she's going to have to force feed her this soup. Get force fed for 11 points of damage.
I want to know about your sister!
Alright, anything else?
No, Fancy's too busy being distraught over. Is it the eyes?
So,
Never do this the easy way.
are you trying to, like, not kill this person?
I'm not. I'm trying to destroy her.
We're trying to get it to give up, right?
Yeah,
Should we have information we need? Maybe.
there really isn't anything like non-lethal damage in 13th Age. I believe the way it's done is if she runs out of hit points, you basically get the authority to tell me
To
what
choose,
physically
okay.
happens to her.
Okay.
Unless, of course, you
Oh.
describe your attack as plunging a massive dagger into the middle of her heart, then it might be difficult to argue for a...
I make her
Yeah.
explode non-lethally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an orgasm.
Well, Dimezz will kind of waltz up. Well, not waltz. That's a dance, but
Swagger.
yeah, perfect. And he'll kind of extend his knife out toward her and say, "You know, I don't think we need to ask you again to drop your weapons. But I mean, all I have to do is push this knife forward, and it ends for you."
And I don't negotiate with blasphemers.
Okay.
She's out.
Okay.
Also,
Step.
Also, Jake, in the states, I made a momentum state for you.
Okay, cool.
She's out. Combat is over.
Anrakyn snaps his fingers as the skeletons crumble. He looks over to Jax. Now,
Jack looks very worried, to say the least.
you have a few things to explain, I think.
I think I do, but I think I'm not exactly the only one, as he looks to the disappearing skeletons. I suppose I did promise first, so,
What does my brand of sorcery unnerve you, Master Blacktail?
Well, quite honestly, yes, but I would
It cannot have
suggest-
entirely come as a surprise.
Looking at
Skeleton standing next to him.
The literal
Well, you do
skeleton
have like a
walking
sheet
around.
over him most of the time.
Yeah, I mean he's armored, but he's clearly not alive, right? Like, look at
Too
that
much
face.
clattering.
Well,
Yeah, like-
it's one thing to see one and then see half a mercenary company get taken out by things just... And anyway, should we perhaps make camp and go somewhere more comfortable to talk about things?
Anrakyn raises an eyebrow. Not trying to run away, are you?
Looks at all the bodies.
No. I mean, if I wanted to, I can fly, so I could at any point, but I don't want. I mean, I paid you, and it would be very stupid.
About what
Flying
payment?
would help you get away.
It seems you are withholding information.
You saw what happened to those
we
archers.
have done what we were supposed to do here. I suggest we continue on. No?
I will tell you what I maybe should have told you, but it's a bit of a long story, and
Well, we can walk and talk, yes. We should probably put some distance between ourselves and this carnage.
It is indeed a long journey. We have the time.
if you want to carry her, I suppose I could do that.
Are there horses still around here?
The horses have run off at this point.
Okay.
As soon as the creatures just appeared out of thin air, they booked it.
Uh-huh.
They're not big into necromancy, huh?
Damn animals. Discriminations.
The simple-minded are easily frightened by their own mortality.
Jax just kind of hesitantly shrugs, not exactly sure what to answer to that.
Anrakyn sort of winks at Graham.
The irony is that once they taste the sweet kiss of death, they will never let it go again.
Yes, the sweet embrace of the oblivion dark that awaits us all. Or not perhaps all of us. Sometimes that darkness spits something back out, doesn't it?
He runs his hand through his sort of beard.
Anrakyn
Both creepy.
just giggles a little bit to himself as he goes poking through the bodies. He seems to be having a lot of fun.
Alright, poking through the bodies. Let's handle that first then.
Dimezz will say, I may not steal from the living, but the dead can't have things stolen from them.
Eyes him.
Anrakyn eyes him. Noted.
That is a dangerous philosophy. Someday something dead
not a murderer.
might be taking offense.
There was that
Well,
Burrow White. Yes.
as for the contents on the bodies, they have basically their equipment, chainmails, short swords. The archers have bows that they've never fired. Lots and lots of arrows still left in their quivers. They do have a couple of gold pieces, a total of like 40 spread across them. As for
They could be paid double that.
As for their leader, she has one large pouch with a grand total of 300 or so, give or take, gold pieces, as well as a potion that looks... Sorry?
Fancy doesn't care about those. She just, looks at the pouch, frowns, and, tosses it over at Anrakyn. This doesn't help me.
Anrakyn takes it, and you see him look around for a little bit, and then sort of disappears into his clothes somewhere.
As well as a potion that looks awfully like an adventurer tier healing potion. And in addition to that, there's a small wax-sealed leather pouch with a note attached. The note says, recovered from religious fanatics related to the fraud in the mountains, to be delivered to Graneth.
Might look at that later. Maybe I'll even deliver it. This is from the religious fanatics. You're welcome. Have a nice day. Hey, it would be rude if her proper delivery, if this was an escort mission for her, could not be fulfilled.
So there are a bunch of nice people.
Is this a system where we sell armor and bows and stuff like that, or
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
It's theoretically those things have vague prices, but in practice, consider the cut that you would get from selling all the various jewelry and trinkets and things you can easily pawn off to be already included in what you find on them.
Okay. And
Just to keep things streamlined.
So selling a plate mail isn't worth 1,000 gold.
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
It's worth nothing.
I think it's worth it. It'd be worth 50 gold pieces in this system.
That's a healing potion.
Yes, but that non-magical stuff effectively affects your non-magical petty cash account, whereas the actual gold pieces you get can be used on magic items. It's like the same reason like sheep won't be charging you for rations left and right. But you're like, I don't eat, and
but
you're
I
like,
don't
exactly.
eat. Like exactly. Like I literally don't eat. Okay, I'm just wondering if it's something we should bother with or not. But then okay.
Basically, if we bother with it, sheep will just turn down the amount of gold we find. So really, it's a loss for everyone.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
We have to run around with 17 bones and whatnot.
I am fine with just getting the gold value. Right, well, you see
Plus,
Anrakyn pick through the
undressing
bodies.
these people, it's kind of awkward. So
He picks through the bodies. He seems to know what he's doing. And a few gold pieces and rings and other stuff, and collected in different pouches in his coat.
Go on and mend the Edeling to fix it up.
No, I can't mend.
No, well, I'm doing it.
Oh, okay.
I can. Short resting basically allows me
No,
to
he's
fix it.
healed. He's healed. I healed him.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Death knell.
Well,
Fuse some life energy into it. Yes.
What's the archer?
fading out from this whole loot recovery scene here, unless there's something in particular anyone wishes to do. Jax would then follow up on his offer to carry Donnell, assuming that Fancy doesn't want to carry or drag her herself.
Fancy would basically be like, oh, yeah, if you want to, yeah, sure.
Jax shrugs with a look that quite clearly communicates amazingly that, I'm big, I can carry things.
That's what Fancy realized whenever she looked at him on all fours, like, oh, okay.
That makes sense.
You got it.
Besides, you have ownership over her token anyway, Jax. I don't, so works.
And so let me do lines be gone. There we go. And so Jax,
you're a sorcerer.
Handle med oh god.
And so Jax will essentially slowly make his way, walking again, looking around for a campsite, a clearing in the woods or something, quickly finding one and gesturing you guys towards there, essentially. Over here. But he'll quite clearly stalling quite a bit, collect some stray branches and such in his immediate vicinity, and slowly, carefully start building a campfire, avoiding looking at anyone.
Sure, being dead gives you immense patience.
Anrakyn sits down, leans against the tree, waits for the fire to be the thing to be built, and then he will sort of snap his fingers to make it go. As a spark flies out.
Jax frowns at the suddenly ignited campfire, sighs as he is looking around for more things to weigh Simon, but eventually does sit down next to the fire. He undoes his backpack, essentially, putting it in front of him, and hesitating again, looking at everyone, really. Mostly Anrakyn rather nervously, as he pulls out a glass vial, essentially, stoppered with a big cork sealed in wax, and kind of just shows it to all of you, kind of making sure that all of you can kind of see what it is. Inside that potion isn't really a liquid, but rather a swirling, churning sort of fog, really, a mist, moving as if there was wind in the vial, but clearly there can't be. And moving around the vial doesn't really seem to affect the liquid or fog inside of it. It's a rather eerie performance almost by the thing inside, like a dancer almost, quite mesmerizing, as he sighs and says, "Well, this is the reason why I want to go to Mayaton. It's supposed to be a miracle potion of sorts that can heal all sorts of diseases and, well, most importantly, addiction to substances. I did mention a friend in Myton, and she is a friend, yes, but she's probably a bit more than that, and she disappeared from me, and I could start at the beginning, but it's a really long and boring story, and it's not really relevant. I mean, I paid you, and clearly you should professional honor and such, and he runs out of words.
So your paramour is addicted to the oils of Myton, and you feel guilty and want to cure her and win her heart back. Is that about it?
Well, I have to feel guilty because it's my fault.
Oh, I didn't suggest you wouldn't. He smiles.
And, well, yeah, that's the gist of it. She went back there, and now she's there, I suppose, and I want to get her back. It's quite straightforward, really.
Oh, Anrakyn nods.
And this vial supposedly contains a sort of thing that just makes it go away. I'm not entirely sure if it works, but the merchant I stole it from said it would.
Anrakyn smiles slightly. Can I see it?
Fancy looks up, her initial smile going into a frown as she hears that bit about the merchant.
Looks to Anrakyn, thinking, yes, it can cure anything.
And you actually believe that?
Jax will hand it to Anrakyn, turning towards Gil-Galad, saying, well, I hope it works, but I do have a plan B. As Jax begins again rummaging around in his large backpack and takes out not one, but 3 large bottles, really. These ones also corked and sealed with wax, containing a slimy black sludge, really.
Oh no.
He points it in and says, that should be enough to last her 3 months, so I'm going to go to Myton, get her. This should be enough to make sure she doesn't suffer for the 3 months, and then I have another 3 months to figure out how to fix everything.
So how did all this involve mercenaries?
And fanatics.
Well, the merchant I stole this vial from, he wasn't really openly selling his things, and I mean, if it's really as good as he says, then I'd imagine that many people might want it. I'm not sure how that woman knew who I was, but Jax kind of shrugs. I suppose I attracted more attention than I should have. She did say, perhaps I should just... He frowns again. Yeah, sorry?
Investigating the vial, would that be my my medical background or my magical background, do you think?
Which one is better?
Magic.
Alright, go with that.
Okay.
It is most definitely a magical substance. That is something that Anrakyn sees immediately.
That makes more sense than trying to use the medical background anyway, since you would have to open it, maybe take substances out of it to try and test.
Yeah, the stuff in the vial is most definitely magical in nature and therefore kind of hard to judge what it does. But it feels very familiar in a sense. The magic it uses, definitely a significant chunk of arcane magic just in there, but there are more than just traces of necromantic sources in there as well.
Anrakyn will, as he studies it, he will probably have mumbled some words over it, maybe his hands glow faint light as he holds it over everything, and then he will slowly hand it back to Jax and says, well, it is certainly magical. I do feel quite familiar traces of necromancy in it.
Well, is that bad?
He shrugs. Necromancy is not evil, per se. It deals with death and decay. It could perhaps work. He tries to think. It is really dependent on whatever spells are wrought upon the liquid, I suppose. What components are used. If I had a lab, I could study it further, but he hands it back.
So Dimezz will speak up and say, "When you say the words necromancy and cures everything to me, I think that perhaps it might just cure everything by killing the person.
Sometimes that is preferable.
You can't have a death fever if you're dead."
Anrakyn coughs violently. He looks feverish.
Oh, that wouldn't do. You see, I wasn't always like this, walking around and wearing clothes and such. I originally lived in the Fenwood, that is why I feel comfortable of getting to Minett in the first place, but I really want to just get her back, She changed everything and looks defeated.
Anrakyn smiles slightly. It is a worthy goal, I think.
So what did you do that caused you to, or her to become this way?
Well, when I lived in the Fenwood, one day I was hunting around for food. I found this really large bird, so I figured that would make a good meal. But that led me... I met Eisenbell's caravan. Eisenbell is my friend. And, well, whereas her companions drew swords and weapons, she just looked at me. And, well, to skip the boring parts, I eventually found her again and invited her to dinner. I was living in a hollow tree stump next to a small stream, and as luck would have it, that evening one of the eels that live in the mire made its way down my stream, and it has always been a great feast for me, so I figured I'd share it with her. What I didn't realize was that living in the Fenwood, I never really was bothered by the oil's addictive properties, in a sense. I ate the eel and it was tasty and it made me feel rather sleepy, but that was about it. But I think she got hit hard. I didn't notice it at first and everything seemed fine. She asked me to come with her and I did, and we traveled around, saw all kinds of things. The circus in the Free City, we read poetry, she sang songs, but up until a few months ago she suddenly disappeared and I wasn't sure where she went, but I asked around, and so it turns out she had run out of money and sources for more oil, so she went back to the source. So I have to fix it. I caused all of this.
All right.
Fancy looks out from the pod. Well. That doesn't mean that it's all right for you to steal from people.
I had no choice. That merchant was very shady, although if I promise that I'm saying the truth, that won't mean much to you. I didn't have any money. I had no choice. I know how terrible it is in Minett, and I had no time to wait.
You are trusting an item that you got from a merchant you describe as shady, hoping that it will fix the addiction of your friend.
It's a plan I have a second one with the supply of oil, but he shrugs.
Fancy
Your motive
looks-
is noble, but your actions speak of inexperience. So
How am I supposed to be experienced with this kind of situation, if you would please tell me?
You're not, I suppose. And that's what brought you here. But suppose now you are.
Well,
In any case,
that's my
still
story.
haven't
I'm
found-
sticking to.
Sorry? We still haven't found out how this one sticks to the whole story and what's her story.
Well, I can promise you, I don't know who she is.
I do, I think. I maybe married your sister. Or what's in her hand? You know, I'll figure it out.
Fancy just resumes cutting.
I would still like to actually ask her.
Graham is sort of set down at this point, just sort of sitting there with his armor and stuff, axe sort of leaning against his arm, and just looking at people. This is sort of what he usually does, sort of when other people need to sleep and eat and such. He just sits there passively, waiting.
I would suggest when she wakes up to be on your guard.
We defeated her and all of her gods. I don't think that.
So, but she could be unpredictable.
I think we can handle her. She seems pretty bound up. Looking at her.
Well, Fancy doesn't have any rope, so she didn't tie her up.
Oh.
Fancy took her weapons.
Oh, fancy.
Well, Gil is, somewhat prepared for such situations.
Fancy is
Can
not
s-
prepared for adventuring
his
situations that
manacles.
need rope.
Yeah, manacles with spikes in them.
The elves are always ready. The dragon change.
The blood of the oppressors shall soak the earth.
In time, brother.
Doesn't hurt to be prepared. You're being creepy again, guys.
Sorry. Anrakyn looks
So,
at it. Yep.
Shall we try to wake her up?
For my sake, you can do whatever you wish. I don't really have much of a stake in her.
Probably shouldn't do that until she has something to eat first.
Maybe we should put a stake in her.
Excuse me?
He points at the food.
There's nothing... These are vegetables, Anrakyn.
Oh, I thought people ate steak on adventures.
Sometimes they do.
He leans back against the trees.
Fancy's brow twitches, and she looks back down the vegetables, and as she resumes dicing, she says,
You don't go out on many adventures, do you, Anrakyn?
Not together with people, no.
Graham looks slightly offended.
That's a shame. I understand that you must spend most of your time in reading. After all, that's how we met.
He blinks a little bit surprised, and then he smiles and looks up to her.
it's the first time she's shown recognition of remembering.
He's like, oh, you remember Fancy? He sort of scooches a bit forward, like probably puts like a knee in the face of Linnell without noticing.
It's like over here to the halfling.
Dimezz nods.
I still have the book. I still have the book. He sort of rummages around a little bit in his backpack and brings out her collection of poems. It looks very worn.
Fancy like stops dicing, looks up, and like her head tilts slightly, and she goes, "Aww."
There might be a slight blush on Anrakyn. It's hard to say sometimes, but then he sort of smiles. Yeah, I I know most of them by heart by this point, but are you gonna write like is there a new anthology coming? I really like them.
And she says, "Well, I'm working on it." She looks around.
Oh,
It's I'm working on it. It's slow going, especially right now. But yeah.
If I may interrupt, which poems are those? Jack's kind of slowly angling his head over the.
Oh, great!
barrel.
We're gonna bond with the dragon with poems.
Fancy says, "Oh, I write the poem here or there, and some enterprising fellows thought it would be worthwhile to put them in a book to spread it amongst all the people so that they could enjoy them. It's nature, what the goddess has done for me, but this and that. I mean, I've made a few coins. I haven't really cared though. I just use it to travel and help people."
At that, Jax will actually nod, close his eyes, and what's the word here?
Recite.
And yeah, basically recite an entire paragraph of one of Fancy's poems.
For one, it's a stanza, Jax, but that was adorable all the same.
In the middle of that, Graham will sort of stand up and mumble something like, "I will be over here." He will go over here and sit down by this tree. Be looking very, very glum and bored. Many of the fads kids have these days are terrible, but this is one of the worst.
Gil was about to
worded poetry, and he doesn't like it.
Yeah. Dimezz has to leave too because he'll remember this forever if he doesn't.
Gil was about to wake up our prisoner here by a few slaps, but yes, the mood suddenly changed completely. You notice a
poetry.
Notice a bit of a darkness rising around him as he.
Yes, that is one of my earlier ones. It's it's good that they were right, that the poems have spread across. Good.
Yeah, Eisenbell told me that one.
Agreed.
Well, she told me all the poems I know.
Oh, that is adorable. Anrakyn sort of scoots over a little more, and he will hand the book over to Jax, so he can flip through it.
He will.
It's a bit stained. I had it with me on when I was down in a cave in a tomb for a few, but it's probably readable. Sort of coughs a little bit looking at it. Looks very dear to him.
Fancy looks up and says, "Oh, I suppose that if this is all to help her, then, well, that does it. You can make amends for what you've done after you get her back. Yeah, it's all good."
He nods with a determined motion.
It's good. That kind of dedication. Women really appreciate that, Jax.
Well, the only real thing I think I learned about women is that they're very confusing, but I will keep that in mind.
Fancy blinks. Resumes dicing vegetables. I love how we chased away the group site.
Graham is still, even though he has been here for quite some time, he has not really gotten used to this teноnym idea of them being like civilized and wearing pants and such. It seems strange to him. Like that they would do this sort of thing, especially this big one, and then it sort of begins by reciting poetry, imagine like holding its hand on its heart or something like that, and he's just like, "No, this is weird. I shouldn't be seeing this. This is illegal in some places."
Well, there are still quite a few wild ones running around, causing all sorts of problems, unfortunately.
That's the problem.
I'm afraid I have met a few of them. It was not really pleasant.
I don't think we ever ran into any together.
No, not in our travels. Thankfully.
As Fancy finishes dicing her vegetables and pouring some water in it and looking at the campfire, she says to Anrakyn and Jax, "Really, though, I stick to singing these days. It's easier for me to keep track of those than it is for me to write down things. Oh, I have tried. I have tried to collect the stories of the heartfelt stories of people who've been separated since a young age and who found each other again, but it's just so hard to find the time. I mean, I could write about it, or I could find more people to help."
Anrakyn looks around a little bit and then he mumbles, I could help.
Oh, would you? Oh, yeah, that would be so great.
He smiles. Sure, Fancy, I would be glad to help you.
Radiant, like pearly smile. It's just so hard for me to keep track of all these thoughts. And money too. That's why I tossed it to you. I figured that you would be better at keeping track of it. People say I'm never good with it. I just say that there's a lot more people who need it than I do.
Oh, he sort of blinks a little bit. I see. I do recall you being quite famous. Why are you actually taking jobs at an inn for 50 gold?
Oh,
no offense, Jax, but
I was just, I just gotten back from a village. The name of, oh, goodness, I keep doing this. Well, I married a lovely couple there, and I just went to the Price Point Inn, thought I'd have a drink or two, and all of a sudden, people thought I was an adventurer. Fancy laughs. I didn't have it in my heart to correct them. They sounded like they needed help. So here I am. I don't really need to do this, though.
You do look pretty good at swinging a sword, though, if I might say.
Oh well, it's more of a necessity. There's so much ugliness out there that sees to try and intrude upon life in one fashion or another. Fancy looks over at the unconscious body of the woman and frowns. Well, I wish it were different. But
not as well. Yes. There is much out there that I also wish were different. He sort of eyes glazes over a little bit. He gets that 1,000-yard stare for a second, and then he sort of snaps back like, "What?"
Fancy after setting her pot up by the campfire, walks over and puts a hand on Anrakyn's shoulder and says, "Don't worry. It sounds like that you can help me make it different."
He he raises one of his hands, and it's maybe a little slight tremble, and as he puts it over Fancy's and blinks and says, "Thanks." Fancy will note that his hand is pretty damn cold at this point.
Yes. Fancy's hand is strong and warm.
Oh. The halfling.
Really?
the 18 strength helps.
A rebel like that.
Sure does. Yeah, no, he smiles. Anrakyn seems to genuinely smile at her.
Fancy beams and then looks away again to fuss over food.
Mm-hmm.
What are the people in the other camp talking about?
Graham was mumbling things. Now he's just.
What do you mean talking?
All right,
they're
brooding.
men sheep. They just sit in a corner and grunt. That's
Yeah,
what
he's
they
like,
do.
I'm brooding about my past. So currently, I need to smear some oil on my hands and kick some tires,
It's so entertaining to be on this side of the people who brood versus the people who don't brood and watch how dumb the people who brood look.
We're having a normal conversation over here.
He's doing what he does sometimes. He learned this actually from Anrakyn, and that is smoking.
Yes.
What's gonna happen to his lungs? I mean, he's already dead.
True.
So he has like one of those long pipes. Not really something that's culturally befitting him, but he picked it up. it's something to do when you're relaxing.
Anrakyn will, at this
And
point...
it is better than just idly sitting there waiting.
It is.
Gil may ask a few questions to Dimezz, about, the way he usually does things. Seeing how he actually understands that the cover of darkness can be quite preferable sometimes, instead of, the straight confrontation. Perhaps he may even try to initiate him in the teachings of, Lady Aduial.
He's trying to convert you, Jake. Don't listen to him.
Have you heard about our Lord and Savior?
The darkness is black
I
and
haven't
full
really
of
thought
terror.
about it.
So you
That's
work
the
at
way I
night.
like to keep it.
Let's start
Have
with
you
that.
heard of the Lady of Stars?
Did you know that this is her environment?
No solicitors.
From the darkness I draw my power. What?
Graham is sitting here. He keeps watch generally at this point because all these people are so young and so innocent, and in a way they can frolic, and he'll be the responsible person to keep an eye out.
He's such a
for trouble.
grandfatherly type.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Nice.
Anrakyn will look to Jax. And after they've shared some poems, does he look a little bit more relaxed, or is he still eyeing
I mean,
him?
all this talk about poems and such has gotten him from worried and, nervous to just plain up sad.
Oh, he's morose. What I wanted to say, Jax, is that my powers might be frightening, and same might go for Graham. I've certainly seen him do terrible things to his opponents. But I want to say do not worry, because we are on your side of this. And even though I might be a necromancer, I only go after the bad guys. He winks at him, and then coughs violently.
He nods without really making eye contact and just says, it's good to know.
Fancy looks up from the fire, shoots her eyes over to Anrakyn and says, "Yes, it's about the value of what's inside a person within their heart. And this whole process of, it seems ugly and perhaps cruel to the those who have died, but are those bones really being used? No. They were used instead for a good purpose, to help you, which is what you hired him for."
Anrakyn nods emphatically. Indeed. I'm quite happy that you see it like that, Fancy.
Well, it's not how I would prefer it, but the bones really aren't being used, and so you're putting them to a good purpose. Their spirits are already off in wherever it is that they have earned.
Indeed. I must use what tools I am given, and sadly these are my tools. Might be unseemly, but it's what I have. He rummages around, pulls out a pipe, and you see him maybe start breathing, something that he hasn't really done much before, and as he sort of lights the pipe.
Does it rattle in his chest?
It's a bit rattly, yes, but as he starts drawing in smoke, it seems to sort of clear up more and more.
See, Fancy looks over at Jax and says, "I'm not one to speak about this, but really you should be more grateful. You could have hired a worse band of adventurers who would have been bribed away by gold offerings like that. Instead, we helped you, and we did it without a scratch, so that we're free to continue traveling. Although I do hope that we do not encounter more mercenaries like that. I would so hate to have to hurt more people."
Oh, I am so grateful. I don't think I'm just capable of expressing that particular emotion, and I'm not exaggerating. I haven't been like this for long. I haven't ever trusted people before when I met Eisenbell. I was living in the forest and just living my life, just hunting.
That is a sad existence, to not trust anyone. Hopefully your life will be changed in a better way. It is unfortunate that the situation exists, but we will make the best of it.
He nods.
Now, maybe you know the answer to this. Why did the rest of the people leave this campsite? Is it the food? Do they not like people? Like, she, looks over to, the unconscious woman, back at Jack's, or do you scare them? Did we just choose a bad initial site? Should we move?
I just think that poetry can be intimidating at first. I've had first-hand experience, after all, and they haven't yet had someone like Eisenbell to introduce them to the beauty.
Intimidating? That's... I don't understand.
Unknown things can be strange,
But who could not know poetry?
Well, these people over there, apparently. If they knew poetry, then they wouldn't move away from it.
Fancy, looks, lifts her eyes from the pot, looks up at Jax and says, "How sad."
He agrees with a very sad nod.
She looks back down at the pot.
Well, we should probably get some shelter. It is looking like rain rather soon.
Fancy looks up at Jax and says, "Maybe. Hopefully it waits until after I'm done."
Well, if there isn't any conversation that anyone still wishes to perform here.
Well, if no one else has it, then after, as soon as Fancy's done cooking, she'll actually go wake up the unconscious woman.
Yeah, as soon as you get back to normal and the conversation kind of drops down a little bit, Gil will probably come over here and try to continue where he left off. Let's see, can I get...
The Ederling has pulled out a tarp that it's holding over Graham's head so that he doesn't get rain on him.
That's what I want.
It's here for. That's what it does.
That's what I want for mine, but I can't have one like yours.
If I leave my microphone unmuted, I can add authentic sounds of thunder to this experience. It's raining outside.
How fitting.
Trees being uprooted.
Yes.
Sit here in the dark.
It's pretty strong right there.
Sit here in the dark, just looking, keeping an eye out for the young kids. He's within sort of hearing range of normal voices, normal talk, so he can sort of follow what's going on. But
the slight light of the embers of his pipe lighting his face from time to time.
Yeah, just the eyes, sort of strider look, except not the corner of a tavern.
Same with Anrakyn over here. They have practiced this look.
Fancy can't see the pinpoints of Graham's pipe because of the fire in front of her face. It's adjusted her eyes.
So yeah, let's try to wake her up. Let's see what she has to say. Let's, shake her a little bit. If it takes too long, perhaps try to sneak in a slap in there. Without Fancy noticing, probably.
Fancy will notice.
Damn.
Good talk, everyone.
Yeah.
How very useful. Yes, indeed. Let's see. So I'm assuming that he's awake and he doesn't really say anything.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. That's why. That's why everything just.
I thought that might have been the case.
All right. Let me repeat what I said. You do manage to wake her up rather easily. She does get up with a sort of dazed expression, looking around as if she's not really remembering where she is,